I'm so sorry, y'all. I came as fast as I could. Mayday, mayday. In the words of Dominique Morgan, imagine being out of town on business and you're getting ready for your business meeting and you're in your hotel room and you decide to turn on TikTok for some entertainment. And you find out that Dr. Zen Wynn and attorney Happy Eddie have been indicted on multiple felony and misdemeanor counts. Oh my God. For insurance fraud. Oh my God. And the worst part about this all is that now when we get to the reunion, we're going to have to suffer through Giselle and Ashley gloating about this. Because listen, I already am starting to see it in here. People are reverse engineering their feelings about Wendy. Like, I'm not going to let y'all play in my face. Okay? Nobody saw this coming. This is a shock. It's okay to be a shock. I can already hear what Giselle and Ashley and the others are going to say. We knew it. We had heard, but we just didn't bring it to the show. But we had heard rumblings of it. Well, people heard rumblings about your husband, your ex-husband, Ashley. So you might want to sit this one out. But anyways, now we have to hear it from Giselle. And I'm just, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. But let's go ahead and get into it. I think that, well, one, this is all alleged. They've only been indicted. They have not been found guilty in a court of law. But just my opinion, and this is alleged, but Wendy and Eddie have to be the world's dumbest criminals. The world's dumbest criminals. Putting things in writing. Eddie, you are an attorney. You're supposed to be smarter than the average bear. But here are my thoughts, and I'm going to try to keep this as succinct and quick as possible. I don't believe there's a Bravo to prison pipeline. What I do believe is that it takes a certain type of personality to want to even be on reality TV. The average person does not want to discuss their private life in public. So for you to want to be famous, notice I didn't say wealthy, but for you to want to be famous, there's already a few screws loose. Okay, there's already just a few screws loose, especially when it comes to reality TV. Because the premise behind it is that you're supposed to show the entirety of your life. It's supposed to be based on what is going on in real time in your life. Good, bad, or indifferent. And I think from there, that creates a pressure to keep up with the Joneses. And we've seen this before. You know, a good example is Nene and Greg. Remember when they were going through their marriage difficulties and Greg was, caught live on the Summer Jam screen talking on a recorded phone call about how he spent all this money to get Nene up and running so they could fake a lifestyle they really didn't live. Now, were Nene and Greg living a good lifestyle? Yes, sure. But it wasn't the one that they initially portrayed. Look at Teresa and Joe, Judice. They also was behind the clinker for a minute. I believe that the initial expenses to get onto Housewives far exceeds what many castmates even have. But they look at it as an investment. This is an initial investment, and then there is an expected return on said investment. With Wendy and Eddie, Eddie was an attorney in a law firm. He wasn't a court-appointed attorney. No shade. This man made a lot of money. Wendy was a professor at the Johns Hopkins, and she had other side hustles. I know that she was a political pundit for quite some time. They made good money. But there's a difference between making good money and living below your means and making good money and living far above, far outside of your means. And that appears to be what's going on with them allegedly. I know that there's some discussion about them being in debt. I can believe it. They have multiple degrees. Hell, 1 degree. Hell, a law degree. Don't even get me to talk about it. Then I didn't realize until today that Eddie considers himself a serial entrepreneur. All of that costs money. If the businesses are not successful and are not turning over a profit, you're just spending money. You know, having loans, having debt. Wendy, on the show, we see her come up with something every year. It's a different business. But how many of them have turned a profit? When you get onto Housewives, you have to have a team. Most people don't have a wardrobe stylist, a hairstylist, a makeup artist, a videographer, photographer, a social media manager, a manager in general. Most people don't have that. All of those people cost. You have to pay them. And that's just the bare bones. That's just the basic foundation you need to be on reality TV. Never mind the amount of surgeries that these women have, or they get fillers done. There's procedures they get done to keep up their look and maintain their look. Because if we're being honest, the audience of housewives, of the housewives in general, we're very critical. We're easy to talk about how people look. When Wendy first came on the show, and I didn't realize this until I listened to an interview she had either a year or two ago, where she said, I was 6 months postpartum, and the audience dog walked how Wendy looked. She was 6 months postpartum. I wasn't even in my right mind to even think about being on a reality show 6 months postpartum. And so for her to not only be on a show and try to be camera ready, but really isn't camera ready, and then she sees all of this harsh critique and feedback, no wonder why she got on that surgery table so quick. Because the audience is rough. They're going to, how many times have we talked about Ashley's bad fashions and wigs? We spare no criticism when it comes to these women on the show. And that criticism, that fear of being criticized in that way harshly, it's a pressure to live above the moment. I don't think Wendy and Eddie are exempt. This crime, unfortunately, is a common crime. People are indicted and are found guilty on insurance fraud, tax evasion, all the time. All the time. I've never agreed with Kevin Samuels at all, except when he said, Houston is a city full of finesses. He ain't never lied. Everyone is trying to be a socialite, live above their means, only for you to find out that it's all smoke and mirrors. Keeping up with the Joneses will have you broke and or in jail. And that looks like where Wendy and Eddie may be headed. I don't wish that for them. I don't. But when we look at the things they've been accused of, my God, how dumb could you be? For Eddie to get in writing, oh, well, you got any more high-priced items I can add to meet our limit of $423,000? What? What, Eddie? You know better than that. And that is what causes my spidey senses to go off. Because as someone who is in a relationship, as someone who is married, hell, even in my dealings with my friends and my family, there are certain things we don't discuss over text, email, or anything. Matter of fact, even a phone call. I have called my mama before to talk about business. And she said, well, I'll talk about that when you get in town. And I said, well, Mom, no, let's talk about it. She said, no, I'll talk about it when we get in town. There are things, and these things are not illegal. Okay, let me tell y'all something. I told my best friend the other day, I said, whoever is my assigned CIA and or FBI agents, I know they bored as hell because I dot my I's and cross my T's. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to share panties with other women. I don't want to eat slop. I don't want to be shanked. I like my freedom. So I do things by the book. But even doing things by the book, there are personal conversations that you need to see somebody eye to eye and talk to them with. There are times my husband has called me. I'll be like, we'll talk about it when you get home. Again, nothing illegal, but we're not finna talk over the phone. I've called him, hey, let's talk about it this weekend, right? Certain things require a in-person conversation. And if you're going to commit illegal acts, wouldn't you think that would be one of the topics you discuss in person with your wife Or was it that you knew you wouldn't see or speak to Wendy for a period of time? Spidey senses going off. Were you having a difficult time in your marriage? What was going on? For you to email that. For you to email that. I almost would have understood text because we are a text world. We're a techie world and people be texting without thinking. I almost would have said, you know what? He must have forgot. He must have got comfortable. But an email says something different to me. And while I don't wish this on them, I think in the next coming months, Wendy may file for divorce or at minimum a legal separation. And I think when all of this is said and done, and you've heard it here first, but if I'm wrong, I'm going to come out and say I'm wrong because this is just an opinion. This is just a prediction. I'm not an oracle. I can't see the future. But what I think we're going to head into is Wendy and Eddie divorcing. And I think Wendy is going to position Eddie as the mastermind and that she was manipulated and that she had no choice and that there was mental abuse, maybe other forms of abuse going on in her relationship. Now, do I hope that's the case? Absolutely not. I like Wendy. I have no problem with her. I do think that she puts 10 on 20. Sorry, my dogs are in the backyard barking at things like squirrels. I do think she puts 10 on 20. You know, I remember last season when she met Giselle so they could hash out their issues. They were in a Cafe Express that looked like all they serve is soup, salads, and sandwiches. And she came there dressed like she was going out for the evening at 1:00 in the afternoon. She routinely overdresses for occasions. And again, she was heavily criticized her first season on the show, so I could see how that would be her response. But this season, Wendy, unfortunately, people are going to be watching, and they're going to be keeping a list and checking it twice. And they're going to be tracking your expenses. They're going to be looking at, oh, how much does that outfit cost? How much do those shoes cost? Especially amidst the indictment and also the rumor that you all are having financial issues. But most people in America have that because we tend to live above our means. It's not Bravo that's causing this. It's a specific personality type that wants to be on a reality TV show where you show the world your business, good, bad, or indifferent. That is what it is. Reality TV attracts these type of people, the Jen Shaws, the Teresas and Joes, allegedly the Wendy and Eddie. Now, let me say this. I'm not saying Wendy and Eddie are the same person as Jen Shaw, right? What I am saying, it creates a level of desperateness. That's what I'm saying. And I'm going to wrap this up because my dogs are acting a fool in the backyard. I apologize, y'all. My bad. But I think Wendy's next storyline, her next arc, is going to be the wife that is rising, the phoenix that is rising from the ashes. I don't see them making it out married. Maybe, because maybe everything the police said, maybe it's all false. Maybe there's a good reason for all of this. Okay? And we don't even have all the evidence. So maybe there's a good reason for all of this and Eddie and Wendy are innocent. They are not guilty. But if there isn't, I think that we're going to see a different storyline from Wendy. I don't think she should be kicked off the housewife. She didn't defraud old people like Jen Shaw. She didn't, unalive anyone. They just, they was trying to show flow and step toe a little too much. They were living above their means. And do I think Wendy would be at the reunion? Absolutely not. If she does, let me tell you something. Wendy show up to that reunion, you a bad chick. Me personally, I would go to the reunion. Because you're not able to talk about nothing anyway under the advice of your attorney. You're not going to be able to talk about nothing. So every time someone comes back, Wendy, be ready. Have your reads rehearsed like everybody else, honey. Have it ready for Ashley and Giselle because they coming to you guns blazing and you know it. So have it ready. Be ready. Be on guard. Come there. Overdress as you usually do. Okay? Have the dress with the big, huge, pieces of fabric all above your head. Be ready. Come there looking great and be ready to defend yourself. Don't pull a Karen. Don't do that. Be a bad chick and come there and sit there with your chest out and be ready to take the heat. Now that, I can respect a little criminality with that. I can respect a little criminal deviancy with that. But you know, most people are not deviant. So it's the reason why, if everything shakes out for them to be guilty, it's the reason why things were in writing. It's the reason why when the police came in, okay, it don't look like a burglary, but let's continue to investigate this. It's the reason why Wendy would wear what she claimed was stolen. She would wear that on a photo. Because to be a criminal, you have to have a certain level of depravity. And they don't have depravity. You know, it doesn't require you to be a mastermind. It means you have to be completely depraved and not care. And they care. So, you know, that's where we enter world's dumbest criminals at. So get down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. I need to start reviewing Potomac. The first 2 episodes were a little boring to me, but we're going to get into it, honey. So if there is nothing else, I will see you all later. Bye.